Beyond All Boundaries establishes something that I've never seen in any sort of museum setting.
We were paving new territory here. No museum in America, perhaps the world, had put a story of this scope into this kind of a multi-sensory 4D cinematic experience.
Our expectations were so high, we had set the bar so high. This is so important for this museum. Then we sat down, and we saw all the layers come together, and it was the magic that we hoped for.
Being the son of a World War II veteran, my dad flew B-17s in the war. He flew 35 missions over Germany. But like so many veterans, my dad never talked really much about it.
For many years right after the war, no one wanted to talk about it. So I'm glad that somebody's talking about it now and going into the records that there were people that gave their lives in order that we might have the freedom that we are now enjoying.
Historians around the country, World War II historians, as well as people at the National World War II Museum, scrubbing every part of this script, assuring the accuracy of every word in the entire show. I don't think there's ever been more attention given to a script.
We actually joked that we were writing this show longer than the war itself actually lasted, which is true. How do you tell a story that everyone has probably heard? How do you take a new, fresh approach to it?
It was in one of our several iterations when we sat down with Tom Hanks, and he suggested, could we tell this with the voices of people who were there?
A lot of us working on this show grew up around World War II veterans, and I think a lot of us realized that we are the last generation who will speak to them personally. And I think for a lot of us it became something of almost a sacred trust to convey that sense of reality.
We took one of the early drafts of the script and we made a timeline based on all the elements in the script, and it filled an entire wall. And then we came back with post-it notes, and we were putting post-it notes all over the wall with emotions that each scene brought out. And we used that as a process to come and refine every visual, every piece of music, every special effect in Beyond All Boundaries.
We have a 130-foot wide screen that's almost 30 feet tall, and yet there's only 250 seats in the audience. Normally a screen that size is big enough for 1,000 people, 1,200 people, but there's an intimacy in this theater where this screen is overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in a way that makes you feel immersed.
The scope of the thing is massive, and it can't be done literally by just one medium.
It is a three-dimensional experience, truly. It's not about putting glasses on and watching a 3D film, but you are in a three-dimensional space. We have a big, wide screen, but we also have almost as much depth as there is width to the screen.
It's not just a single screen. That's a scrim screen, which is a transparent screen that allows us to move through the screen and see other things behind it. We have 3 layers of projection in the show. We have moving sets. We have things coming out of the pit that are dimensional in front of it. There are special effects in the audience. It snows, the wind blows. We can actually vibrate the seats, make them rumble.
This building is itself an art installation. It exists for one thing only. It's an immersive performance art experience from the moment you walk in the door to when you walk out again. In just a few short minutes, the world changes. America is at war. Our Navy in the Pacific is decimated, and nothing stands between the powerful Japanese battle fleets and the west coast of the United States. Pretty good. I'll just do another one, okay?
Okay.
I'm my biggest fan.
We have, fortunately, Tom Hanks as narrator that provides us with continuity, but I think the conscience of the film, the real heart and soul of it, is the individual voices, and particularly Ernie Pyle, who we bring back several times during the story.
Tom Hanks gave us an offer we couldn't refuse. He said, why don't you come up with a wish list of who you would like to have voice the other speaking parts in Beyond All Boundaries? And we ended up with a cast that included Kevin Bacon, Adam Beach, Patricia Clarkson, Kevin Connolly, James Cromwell, Blythe Danner, Viola Davis, Jesse Eisenberg, Jennifer Garner, John Goodman, Neil Patrick Harris, Emil Hirsch, Kevin Jonas, Tom Kane, Justin Long, Toby McGuire, Paul McCrane, Darren Norris, Wendell Pierce, Chris Pine, Brad Pitt, Giovanni Ribisi, Bill Sadler, Gary Sinise, and Elijah Wood.
This score really is very much a collaborative effort. Tim Williams fashioned the entire score around my themes. As I remember, we had some initial discussions. We knew that we had to have an overall theme. We needed to have one for the war in Europe, one for Asia. Additionally, a death camp theme. The way I come up with them is I sit and feel. I want to know how I feel about something. When I think I have the feeling, then I try to associate some music with that feeling. After I go through all that process, then the notes start to appear. You hope they appear sooner than later.
If you're 13 years old, or if you're 33 years old, or if you're 18, or if you're 72, you will walk in with a preconceived notion of what the war was and what the war meant. And you will leave with a different notion. You will leave with some degree of enlightenment that only you will pick out.
We made a conscious decision, first of all, that we weren't going to do a slam bang, get them out of their seats applauding ending. It just didn't seem appropriate for this story. What we wanted people to be was thoughtful.
What I hope people take away from this as they exit the theater is a deeper understanding of the sacrifice, a deeper understanding of what Americans and the rest of the world went through, and a desire to find out more.
And I hope it takes you several days to sort out what you've felt, and I hope you come back and see it again.
10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, this museum is going to be here, and this museum is going to help people understand what their grandparents and great-grandparents did during that war, and that's going to be something special.